I was clearly crossing on the highway of success, making a reasonable amount of money with which I was supporting our family income. But I was not satisfied. I wanted bigger challenges, so I took the decision to leave against entreaties from friends and family, particularly those who left that I was venturing into the unknown by the abandon all that I was doing. Part to success that I was trading, it was a very difficult decision to make because I was committed to do so many people and too many projects. As I said earlier, I was in charge of my church drama ministry, and the decision to leave was like abandoning that ministry and the church. I was like a betrayer, but I was determined to leave. I was going to establish a drama company in Lagos. In arriving at the decision, I told myself, well, this job is still waiting. If this new venture doesn't work, I can always come back. I had a friend in Lagos at that time, Egby, who told what I was doing in Enugu was too small for my ability. He would write to me in reply to my letters describing what I was involved in. That was fantastic, but that I was a big fish in a small pond. He would say, the nation needs you. There are bigger things for you. When I eventually made up my mind to leave, the first challenge I had was how to tell my pastor. The problem was compounded by the fact that apart from my role as the artistic director in the church, I was also an elder, a member of the church board of trustees. I was also responsible for the youth and the co in the church. All this was at a young age of 26. So, how to tell the pastor about my intention to relocate was a very difficult undertaking, but I summoned courage and told him. My pastor did not show any objection. In fact, he was quite happy for me and gave me his blessing. I'm happy I did because it changed the direction of my life. It made me do things that I'm happy and proud of. Setting out. I'd always wanted to do what I am doing now. Perhaps the answer would have to be no, because as I can be seen from what I've mentioned about myself so far, it may not be far from the truth to say that I've always been very passionate about drama and theater. In Lagos, I work in an information management company where I rose to become the executive director. On the side, I had a company that hired people to run. So many time was split between two endeavors. After a while, I should be expected the impact of this multitasking began to take its toll on my health, and it became inevitable that I would have to make yet another difficult decision. Those were the heady days of producing Chookmates. My decision was quite naturally in favor of independence. I resigned as executive director and went into full-time broadcasting and content development. That was when Amaka Igwe Studios became fully operational. Practical step in setting up. Before Checkmate depot on the entertainment scene, I had identified a need. There were quite a few subs on television and did not think too highly of them. I wanted to make my own sub, but I was not sure exactly how to proceed. I was in two minds about what to do. What if I produce the sub? I will either have to give it to the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, or any of the independent television stations, or own it myself. Firstly, none of the television stations were ambitious enough to take on the project. They could not understand my vision. There was a need for me to be personally involved. I was not prepared to set the script outright. I wanted to be involved in the production to make sure I got the quality I needed. I had a message needed to say something, and I wanted to be involved in saying it. In making some of the decisions, prior to this time, I'd been involved in script writing for television, and I won a couple of awards for my efforts. So, in any way, I was not unknown to the TV stations. Thus, it was either I gave them the script for my soap and allowed them to take complete charge of the production, or I set up my own structure to do it. I decided in favor of the latter option. Setting up was, of course, not going to be easy. I was working in a company and I had saved up a substantial amount of money. I not get any startup capital from anywhere, and not much assistance come from any other source. Suddenly, an opportunity presented itself when Lever Brothers stopped the sponsorship of a new village headmaster. It was opportunity to step in, and I did. I quickly packaged pilot and gave it to them. The pilot consisted of 2 episodes of Checkmate, was then called Hartrop Investment. Before I submitted the pilot, eight of before I submitted the pilot, 8 other subs had been shortlisted, but my entry was selected ahead of all the others. I made the submission through Insight Communication. I made through Insight Communication, a company with which I had had some understanding and which I had also begun marketing the shop. Insight Communication was also the consulting agency for Lever Brothers, providing assistance and advice for what they call the personal group. The group set up to find a suitable sub for marketing close-up, Vaseline, and so on. The personal group approved my entry and took it to their marketing director for approval and bonus preparation. The man in charge said if they use my entry for one group, it will overshadow whatever it was they will get for larger groups, so they transferred it. For me, that was a major miracle. I submitted my entry later, ended up clinching the overall contract. It was just God at work. I didn't know anybody and I kept sharing these facts. I didn't know Wole from Adam and he didn't ask for money. My entry was considered purely on merit. Even I never knew that would happen in Nigeria. It was simply lovely. It was not like what obtains today that agencies take pride. After the success of Checkmate, we begin to venture further and embark on setting up structures. At the initial stage, I was not wholly involved because I was still in my paid employment. Also, there were a few producers at that time. Lola Feni Koyode had a company, but she did not have company structure. There was a couple of others like that too. The company I formed was initially called Moving Movies and was registered as a limited liability company with a few shareholders. My staff member were the initial shareholders. My initial, since I was not fully involved in the day-to-day running at that time, I was called the executive producer, but the daily running of the company was done by my staff. Like many newly established enterprises, we ran into a couple of problems when we started. The problem was we encountered had to do with accounting. We run into problems because we didn't have an accountant or a proper accounting system. In the other company where I worked, we had a proper accounting system because we had an accountant, and the entertainment industry proper accounting system is really a problem because practitioners often approach the issue of accounting lackadaisically. There are many of them in the industry who, as soon as they make some money, simply squander it with no thought for tomorrow. And when they were running a company, they simply bring the same attitude to the business. I remember one when I started to lead a trade mission to the Holland, and we needed visa for the contingent I was taking with me. Only three of us were guaranteed visa while the rest were denied. Why were they denied? They didn't have any account. You won't believe that some of them were well-known names in the industry. Many of them did not have a registered company, no tax record, and so on. So I established a formal structure based on the experience and training I'd gained from my previous job. The management structure comprised a general manager, an accountant, a lawyer, and other necessary staff in change of various departments within the organization. We also devised a formal salary structure. The overheads were large and we were not making a lot of profit because we had only one product at that time. But even that single product was generating a bit of profit. That was enough to pay salaries and take care of few things. Actually, probably would not have made more money in those early days if we had more competent managers and people who knew how to manage your accounts properly. When Checkmate ran its full course 5 years later, it became obvious that we were running a one product company. So we had to create more products. By then, we had produced last snakes, and that was when we veered into filmmaking. We made Violated and Forever, which also generated a lot of money for us. When we begin to make films, we recognize the need to set up another company that will be in charge of marketing because we do not want to be fleeced by opportunities and dishonest. So we established Crystal's Gold, which marked our films. My husband was in charge of that company. Apart from our own films, Crystal Gold also, we were the first to establish such framework in those early days of video film production in Nigeria. Although we had the problem of distribution as the market and the film industry as a world were largely uncharted, we took it all in our stride. The most challenging issue we had to deal with was the glut due to poor distribution system in the industry. Demand for films was grossly higher than supply, but we managed to deal with that, though our establishment of Crystal Gold was created a different distribution system called TMC box office, which is concerned principally with film distribution. Our model was to set up control stores and create chains among existing retailers. This was slightly different from the system in Adumotu, the hub of filmmaking in Lagos, where the films were simply put at the disposals of retailers. Without any form of systematic regulation, we found the retailers and established a link and an understanding with them. The reseller will not put down a given percentage deposit on the film and we will simply supply them. And when they needed new supplies, they called us. Before we set up TMC box office, we had BIG picture, a brief background information. Information on this is necessary. My husband has an MBA in administration and finance, and he used to work in a bank. He also worked as a consultant. So when I told him about the idea of big picture, in his characteristic manner of considering things, he took a more professional look at it and included media consulting as part of what he was doing that gave birth to big picture, which renders information and business management services. We organized conferences and seminars and marketed films for those companies outside Nigeria. We are also the sole distributors of some filming equipment like CD cam through our regular seminars and conferences. We developed a distribution model based on findings from the seminars. The distribution model we developed became TMC box office, and through it we were able to distribute Sitanta and some of our own works. Later, when the federal when the federal government introduced the idea of licensing distributors, we were licensed, and because we had been involved in film distribution before the licensing came, we were allowed to distribute work by other marketers. It was after the licensing by the federal government that we took the decision to create Bob TV, best of the best in African film television programs and markets, in order to bring the TV stations together and present to them what we had. The presentation took place in 2002 at Lagos Sheraton with over 47 TV stations and advertising agencies from all over Nigeria in attendance. We presented what we had. This was when Danladi Bako was the Director General of Nigeria Broadcasting Commission, NBC. He was so impressed with what we did that he encouraged us to make what we had into a content market where people could come and sell content. At that time, I was on the board of Africas, which is the African Broadcast Convention. It is an African Union AU protocol in broadcasting. It is biennial conference held in Nigeria. In 2002 and 2004, I was on I was on its organizing board. What we did was to turn the conference into a forum for hardware marketing, like a trade fair for hardware exhibition. On the other hand, Bob TV was for content. That is what is shown on the MNET, and it was a huge success. We moved Bob TV to Abuja because we wanted to be a national affair. Bob TV exists as a separate company specializing in national sales and marketing of programs. The Content Expo is a yearly affair complete with standard and exhibiting materials. People came from all over the country and beyond to participate in the exhibition. It also offers training to people in the film and broadcast industries because we have always recognized the importance of training. When Bob TV started, it became a major component of the company. Training people and recruitment experts from outside Nigeria, including the UK, Canada, India, America, and so on. All these experts were recruited at our own expense to hold workshops for broadcasters and filmmakers. We called it the Skill Factory, and it's highly successful. It is part of what Bob TV does. Bob TV also offers film exhibition and film show every 2 hours. We used the Ladi Kwali Hall in Sheraton Hotel with different activities going on 8 halls simultaneously, conferences, lectures, and exhibitions. The National Census Board also holds its convention with distributors in the same venue. The National Film Corporation (NBC), other private organizations, and industries too are frequently part of it. We also organize a competition among university students called the University Challenge. Students from over 26 universities and so many departments like history, music, theater arts, and mass communication are invited to take part. The best school wins production services of over a million naira. The initiative is named after Chief Raymond Dekwosi, who gave us a very big support at the first Bob TV. Bob TV is not yet a profit making venture. It is still being funded by the company. It was a business decision not to make it a profit making venture. Eventually, it will grow to be like all the other big markets, like Canons and others. As a result of the importance of the training component, the Federal Ministry of Education invited us to take a license through their innovation programs. So, we created yet another company called the Center of Excellence Film and Media Studies, which is recognized by the government, the Highbury College Portsmouth, which is one of the top 3 journalism schools in England, provides technical support for us in this regard. It has provided training and technical support for the Federal Ministry of Information, African Independent Television (AIT), and the Nigerian State Polytechnic. In fact, it has a memorandum of university (MAU) with the Lagos State Polytechnic to build a 100 million naira center for the school. So we align with it and it's participating with us. CMC Box Office has also signed an agreement with AIT to supply them 4 films every month. They are also the channel through which Silverbird Television will show Nigerian movies on 10 screens across Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya. Amaka Igwe Studios will remain the main engine. It is a content development company, and that is what it does. It makes films, TV, and audio programming. The company has studios in Ikeja and Irokudu, and we are developing another one which will have 2 sound stages, a 3 or 4 star hotel attached to it, and everything else from office spaces to whatever facility that may be needed. So it has been a long and eventful journey. This is the 21st year that I have been in the broadcast industry over the years. We have grown from being a one product company to a multi product and multi service media product. At present, my husband and I are major shareholders because all the previous shareholders we started with have moved on other things. We have many clients and we are working on different projects. Most of the people working with us were trained by us. We have productions going on at least in one center outside Lagos in Enugu. There is one we are about to set up in Lagos and another one we are working on for the northern part of Nigeria. We have one in England, so we have an ongoing project. We also have funding to do big productions. In addition, we have been providing technical and financial support to people who are big in the industry but have also been making headway. What we do is to identify them, bring them in, and retrain them. This is what Amaka Igwe Studios does. In 2007, Bob TV was licensed to operate radio and TV in Lagos, as well as TV in Abuja. We have set up the radio arm and it's called Top TV 19.9. It has its own management. Personally, I do not know anything about radio, but we supply programs because we have the capacity to do that. But as soon as we obtain frequency for the TB, I may be in the driving seat for that. There will be probably a general manager or CEO to run it because the main body of any those broadcast station is Amaka Igwe Studio. The studio will be responsible for providing the context. The radio station has a small space, and this is what we hope to replicate. The radio station has a small context. The two stations will run professionally. Programming will be produced later and sold through the normal challenge. Crystal Gold, after making some profit, we will bring it back to the TV station. That is our model. Amaka Igwe Studios is the mother company. The others should evolve around that we do there. Now, all the companies get some media jobs to do for banks and other relevant institutions, and anything that has to do with production is given to us to do documentaries, commercials, and so on. These are sent to us, we shoot them, package them, and they give them to their clients and pay us for the job. We have all the equipment in the studio and we have a quite a lot because we buy an equipment we need. These include editing suits, cameras, and accessories, among others. Those we do the work and they take the glory. The challenges of entrepreneurship. The greater challenge I had was making up my mind about what I really wanted to do by way of career. The difficulty in arriving at a decision stemmed primarily from the fact that I could do many things with near equal facility. At the risk of sounding cocky, I was good at the job I was doing, well in paid employment, just as I was broadcasting and content development. I enjoyed doing what I was doing and I missed it when I wasn't doing it. It was easy for me to do it because it came naturally to me. This is often the kind of decision many people are confronted with, deciding between or among several options in which they are similarly gifted. At that time, I was doing something which people liked immensely and from which they were not merely drawing inspiration and pleasure, but which was also a blessing to them. I also knew I was passing a message across people. We are learning value lessons about life from what I was doing. I remember what the late Pastor Bimbo Odukoya said when he was watching Checkmate. She knew without being told that the writer was a Christian. It was thrilling to know what they could actually teach people without actualizing seeming to be doing so. That you could be a teacher outside the classroom. So it was a sheer of amazement to me discovering that one could minister without saying Jesus Christ. That was teaching and touching lives. Therefore, as a minister who had a calling, it was much more in Park. I guess that was part of what it made somewhere easier for me to leave my paid employment with the fringe benefits, a car driver, a house, among others, and to start what I'm doing now full time. It was the second time difficult decision I had to make, the first being my decision to leave Enugu for Lagos and all the trapping I was enjoying then. In a way, it is part of the challenge of trying to know exactly what God wants one to do. That is the call, mission, and the vision of God concerning one. Making that decision, I said was undoubtedly the greatest challenge I faced. That that time was every other thing was easy in the sense that one simply took them in one stride. If God gave the commission, He would give the grace. The timing of moving away from what I was doing was another challenge. Where I was working before, I had to give 100%, and I was doing the same to my own company. At the time, my blood pressure went up alarmingly, and that was really a very serious problem for someone as young as I was at that time. My doctor was shocked. So he said to me, "Don't go to church on Sundays. Sleep since this is the only time you have. You must rest." He just couldn't believe how, at about 25 years, I could have a high blood pressure I could no longer cope, and it became necessary for me to leave the job. I knew I was leaving my comfort zone, but I had to do it. For many people just starting out, I knew that money can at times be a challenge, but for me, money has never really been an issue. Sometimes I have it and sometimes I don't. Like Ops Paul said in Philippines, I know both how to abase and I know how to be abound. Moreover, my gender has never been an issue. It is quite easy to dismiss women as in incapable of competing with men in any kind of profession because in the broadcasting and information sector, generally there are a few women managers because this has never been a problem for me. As a matter of fact, it has never crossed my mind that as a woman doing this job, I must differ to men. I was brought up to believe that my brain is as good as any other brain, male or female. And if my brain is required to do any work, I do not see myself as a human. I see myself as a person created by God for a purpose. That is the purpose I'm fulfilling. My father's watchword was he, which he impressed on all his children, is to be the best of who you are. So I work hard at being the best I can be. I'm not waiting for men to show me sympathy or beg them to for help because I'm a woman. I work hard, I do my best, and God gives the increase. So being a woman in a male dominated profession has never been a problem for me. I remember an instance with radio engineer handling one of my jobs. The said audio engineer had a problem with one of the equipment and wasted almost 2 days trying to fix it. In the course of waiting for him to fix the problem, we lost a lot of money because we could not do what we were supposed to do. As he was struggling to fix the equipment, I offered to help several times, but he declined. My thinking was that he declined because he thought I was a woman. It also could be because he was trying to project the integrity of his own area of specialty. In my profession, there were usually over 55 professionals working on a film or a job at a time. And ours is one industry where there is a rigid rule about everybody minding his or her job. Although there are often creative collaborations among different departments, there is a strict separation of functions. We are not encouraged to interfere in another person's functions, and no one is expected to meddle in your own. But when the problem is questioned, persisted, I put down my food and collected the equipment from the fellow. I opened it up, and just as I suspected, he had placed the battery in the wrong order. I brought the equipment so I knew how it worked. I fixed it properly and we started working. Looking back now, I wonder if it was because I was a human that he did not want me to look at the equipment or if it was because he was protecting his job. It did not really bother me. When I'm at work, I don't see myself as a human. I simply do what I have to do. I believe a woman is a woman and a man is a man. In my home and in my marriage, my husband is the head of our house and my life. This is as far as marriage situation is concerned. But when I go to my work, I'm the managing director of my company and I do my work and I work hard. I do not see men as an issue. I recall another incident in those early days of a company, which underscores my attitudes to men's the conviction I have about my job. It had to do with the presentations we made before the board of Liver Brothers, now Univel with Ruth Giwa of Blessed Memory with the chairman managing director. After we had made our presentation, the chairman began to say things I felt were against grain and which, if accepted, will contradict some of the fundamental tenets of our profession. As for as far as he was concerned, the job had to be done in a particular way, in a way that he, an amateur, felt was right. I just felt he didn't know what he was saying. It was not because I was a human. As far as I was concerned, he knew how to make soap and how to run a company, but certainly not how to make a film. So I told him where I felt he was wrong. But this did not go down well with everybody that was presented because they were all terrified of Fufu's giver. He was a man whom no one could challenge. A small fry like me could certainly stood no chance. Also, by disagreeing with him, I was taught to be a jeopardizing our challenge of chance by getting the sponsorship we needed. So it was suggested that the bigger guy like Chief Bedun Owosika Bedun Shobonjo and Richard Ibe, all tops gone inside communication, the agency handling the account should depend our proposal since they were on the same level with him. After presenting their defense, they told me you don't talk to Rufus Giwa that way. You know he's a chairman. I say okay. Then they said that I had to go and implement what he said. But I said no. I was not going to implement it. But tops. They asked me why. And I said it was not the proper thing to do. There was no way I could do the job that way. Mr. Giwa actually wanted Chief Fuji of the Fuji Hall of Commission fame to speak very good English. Chief Fuji was supposed to be a class 2 dropout, so there was no way he could be expected to speak Queen's English. But Rufus Giwa said he didn't like the way the man was talking. Chifuji was not speaking pidgin English, but he had a blend of English that was in consonance with his level of education. My profession, this is a Rufus Giwa could teach me that it was fundamental to the script and I couldn't change it. It didn't matter how much he was willing to pay. This disagreement dragged on for about 3 months. I was losing money and they were getting on with their own lives, but I could not budge. Then a time came when they agreed that I should come whenever correction or modification I deem appreciated, but, but that I should be prepared to bear the brunt if there were another rejection. We returned to the representation, and the amazing news was that the chief was laughing his head off. He laughed so hard that he broke the glass behind him. He enjoyed it immensely. So we packaged the work that way and he approved it, obviously, because I have given them a guarantee that within their 3 episodes we will be number one in Nigeria. Within 3 weeks, Checkmate was the number one. Within 5 weeks, Rufus Giwa himself hit a great world press introduction for us at the Lagoon Restaurant, Victoria Island, Lagos. Years later, that remains number one in Nigeria for 5 years that I was on air. we ensured their sponsorship for 5 years that we are number one. Of course, there are a lot of people who think because they are men, they should know better.
That is a general problem. It gives me great joy to beat them repeatedly in the competition, to make them understand that it has nothing to do with our gender. Rather, it has everything to do with the gifts God has given us and what we do with it. If one buries the talent, be it man or woman, there is nothing one can do about it. You have to work at what God has committed into your hand to do and take it seriously. So for me, the challenge I have all the time is the one I create for everyone, which is a desire to be the best. I don't see the power holding corporation of Nigeria as a problem because it is the same problem that everybody is confronted with. The challenge, in fact, the challenge that kills me the most is when I am unable to face squarely the challenge that I have created for myself. I also had a problem when we began to make films. When we started, we had to deal with the people who distribute them, the marketers. Most of them are Igbo like me. There is common belief among Igbo men that women are generally inferior to men. And this sometimes interferes with how they demand do business with women. Someone who was a member of the Marketers Union was pirating my work, and it was quite clear. It was actually somebody in the union that told me about it. The film that was began pirated was Rattlesnake, and it was doing very well in the market. But the marketer whom I gave was not remitting anything to me. Yet, he kept asking for more tapes. He told me how much he had sold. But when I asked for my money and told him that I will not give him any more tapes except I get paid, he said that he would pay me for only a percentage of the film because his farm hadn't sold more than a certain number. This was a lie because I heard through the grapevine that the figures were much higher. I learned that he wanted to travel abroad. His intention was to use my money for his business trip with the intention of paying back when he returned. But when I remained adamant, he went ahead to pirate the film and started selling them. When I got wind of what was happening, I decided to issue the film through a different marketer. But he, the illegal marketer, arrested him and had him locked up. It took the intervention of my husband and the police to resolve the issue, especially when it appeared that the marketers were going to gang up against me. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that at that time, there were only a few home videos in circulation, and Rattlesnake was one of those considered a hot cake. The market too was largely uncharted, with no rules, and being a woman in that uncharted jungle might have seen by those marketers as an opportunity to please him. It was easier for them to deal with my husband, since he's a man and a fellow Igbo, than with a woman, which was probably why the matter was eventually resolved in my favor. For me, the decision to involve my husband was a wise one, and this is one valuable lesson that I took away from that episode. When one knows the persons one is dealing with and how they react to issues, one has to be wise. The Bible says, be a harmless as a dove, but as wise as a serpent. The main challenge is to know when to hold on, when to walk away, when to make the pitch, when to make the argument, when to make the sell, and to make decisions on such things. To me, decision making is a big challenge. Do I turn right? Do I turn left? What do I do at a particular time? Because my life is not time. it belongs to God. Your decision for me is what your destiny is. Many people say their destiny is somewhere and somebody is holding it. I believe whatever decisions one makes will shape whatever one's destiny is. When I left my job, I changed the direction of what my life will be. Did I get it right? Providence will tell. Will tell. So decision making is an organizing and challenging thing. Those were the specific challenges I have had. The rest, I think, are betrayals here and there, abandonment here and there. For me, those are commonplace challenges. Anybody can be betrayed, abandoned, swindled, and anybody can lose money. All of those things have happened to me, and I don't think it was because I was a woman. I think it was because the people who did it were bad. My husband and my business. It will be correct to say that my husband has played a very crucial role in my life and in the success of this company. Indeed, his impact on the business is amazing, and this is not unconnected to his background in administration and financial management. Before I got married, did not have any problem with money, and that was why I found it easy to train people without charging them anything. But when I got married, my husband took a different view and insisted that I had to be paid for the services and training I was offering. At that time, the company owed me a lot of money because even though there was a structure and a payroll, I was not actually earning anything. But when he arrived on the scene, he insisted on certain things. In those days, I used to write scripts free and dash people, but he will have none of that. He recognized the company and had me put on a payroll, thus effectively ending the era of working without pay. In a sense too, he was responsible for turning the company into a viable brand, complete with structures and standards. He has always been passionate about film. In those days, one of his brothers owned a video club long before we met. His father bought a video camera a long time ago in the 1970s and had a video player long before people knew what video players were. So it is something that is part of his upbringing. Most of us that grew in Enugu were familiar with film. We used to go to sports clubs and cinemas. However, in spite of his passion for film, he did not consider it a profession because he studied business. It was more like his own passion meet his training, and he looked at it from a different perspective. He looked at it from the perspective of someone in show business. He zeroed in on the business and put meaning to what we were doing. For example, he started branding in the industry and elevated the playing field. Where I will probably charge 1 naira for a product or service, he will ask for 200 naira. He simply attached the right financial value to what we were doing. That is just one aspect of his personality. My husband is a type of person who doesn't have any problem with the fame I have or what people may consider as the prosperity that has come my way. It has never been, and it is still not, an issue. When people write Mr. and Mrs. Amaka Igwe on invitation cards sent to us, it will not bother him at all. Whenever it's concerning people who have issues in their marriage, he will say about me, I married her knowing who she was. I cannot change her because I married her. He is not intimidated by a woman's success. When people say to him, you are Amaka Igwe's husband, your wife is a genius, he will reply humorously, and I am a genius to have married her. I know my position and duties, and he knows his own too. It is sometimes a bit of a problem for us to be in the same business. We do not share the same office. His office is located somewhere else, and it is bigger than mine. He actually runs most of the business, while I run about 2 or 3 of the companies. We are always talking about business, and that is where it is difficult. Occasionally, I have to say, right now we are in a bedroom, no more room back talks. When he tells me what to do, and I will reply, well, I am the managing director of Amaka Igwe Studios. You can't tell me what to do. So sometimes we forget who is husband or wife. If Crystal Gold commissions a job and it comes to payment, I will say, you are not the husband here. You are the client and you have to pay. At times, and issues like this can be frustrating, but we usually turn into the fun and game. Sometimes, too, it is painful, especially to me, because I feel that it is because he is the husband that he has to tell me what to do. But doing what he says works, and sometimes it doesn't. I think I have only disobeyed him once on marital issues, only once, and it was with dire consequences. However, in business, he doesn't know about programming. I do. In Bob TV, I handle programming. He himself often admits that he did not know much about programming. Therefore, if he makes a suggestion, I will take it like any other suggestion. If it is not right, I won't do it, just as I refuse to do Rufus Giras, and it doesn't matter to me. I think there is a line that is sometimes tedious to manage, but I know my people, my place as a wife, and as regards running the home. I know my role as a helpmate to him, as God has designed it. Those lines don't cross easily. In business, it is a bit tedious because we work in the same business. If he was, say, in banking and he suggested something to me, I probably will not find it difficult listening to him or ignoring his advice. But when it is his company versus my company, we have issues. Sometimes we quarrel over it and sometimes we don't. But those lines are clearly defined. However, when it comes to final decision on Amaka Igwe Studios, I make those decisions and don't know what he does with his own thing except when he consults with me. If he gives me a programming job, I will have to charge him appropriately. But if he refuses to pay me, I will not give him the program because he was to make both companies work. That is how it works between us. He is strict and puts his foot down when he has to. He is, however, not intimidated by my success or by my name, which, according to him, is his name. He is not intimidated by what people think about me, and people who understand our businesses, especially the men, credits him with my success, which is all right by me. Striking the work-family life balance. I'm not an office freak. I manage my time by myself. Work doesn't control me. I control my work. The arrangement is such that I have the time and I am here for my children at any time. If I am on location shooting, which is quite often in Enugu, for instance, I take my children along. I always fix shoots around their holidays so they can come along. My personal policy is that they must see me before they sleep, especially when they were much younger. Every woman in Nigeria works hard, just as women worked hard in the olden days. So generally, the balance I have maintained is that my children must see me and I am involved in raising them. I am not in charge of cooking at home, but I always supervise what is cooked. I have personally trained the people who carry out all the domestic chores in my home and take care of the personal needs of my family. My driver picks my children from school and reports to me after doing it. I always go home soon after to look after them and ensure that they are comfortable. The children have a daily schedule comprising what they will do when they come back from school, which is duly signed by them and me, so they know what they are to do. After going through the checklist for the day, we will sit down and have great fun together. I am also day when my husband comes back. If I am on location, especially if it is within Lagos, I usually don't sleep beyond a day. I stay overnight if I have to do serious night work, then go back to see my family, stay for a while with them, and return to location. I manage my time properly, and now that the older ones among my children are able to take care of themselves, without me, I am hardly worried. When I have to travel abroad, I don't say more than I don't say more than 9 days. And this is not just because of my family, but also because I simply do not like to be away for too long. When I am at work, I put in the best I could, but most of the time, I'm just playing it. It is, however, different when I have to do some serious writing. At such time, I do not stay in my home, my office. In this part, I used to close myself in a hotel room in order to concentrate in what I had to write. In recent times, however, I have become used to working in the midst of all the noise my children are making without being completely distracted. If I have to go to a hotel, then my children will probably be next door, or I could allow them to come and visit. By my business models. In the conventional sense of the word, I do not have any business model, but I will say that the person I worked for when I left Enugu, my cousin Emeka Ene, taught me a lot of things. He taught me what is meant to manage a company, account for everything, separate oneself from the business, and in fact, how to manage and run a profitable business. Some of the people who have worked with me or whom I have trained can testify to this legacy because some of them had to run away when they misunderstood the whole purpose of some of the things I was trying to inculcate in them. Those who endured and stayed for a while learned the value of financial prudence and discipline because I often had to make them account for every penny we were spending. Every expense must be supported with receipts. All this I learned from my cousin. He taught me to have a written personnel policy, which I transferred to moving movies. Although I could not strictly adhere to it, he taught me that when drawing up a budget, it is important to include money for staff, medical expenses. I did that in moving movies. I found a hospital to treat my staff with the company defraying a percentage of the treatment cost. He told me that it is important to take care of employees' medical needs before even considering their remuneration because it is only a healthy workforce that is used in the long and short run. My values and principles. My principles are based on everything the Bible says. The Bible is my standard, and this has remained so since I became a Christian 29 years ago. I have never backslid since then. I have reached a point in my life where all that matters to me is to survive, strive for mastery, and get onto the height ground of Christian experience. Therefore, every principle in the Bible is my principle. Lying is a vice I stopped a long time ago. In my third year in the university, in my business pursuit, I will never give or accept bribe. I will not tell a lie or change people. I remember when someone said to me, "You have proven that you are good. You don't need to improve anything. Just start mass production." I said I wouldn't do it. The contract I have with my Nigerian audience is to entertain them. I will never shortchange them by giving them shoddily produced work. They are the reason I am in business. They are my customers, and I will never give them works of inferior quality. Maybe that is why I am not as rich as some other people are. But I will never do that. Besides, it is against my Christian conscience. The other principle I taught there is the one my father bequeathed to my siblings and me. Be the best you can be. He did not say that he should be the best because that will mean competing with the world. He wanted to change She wanted us to change ourselves to the limit of our ability by being the best we can be. He always pushed us to our full state potential. I recall particularly striking incident when I was in class 2. It was in his home in the village, the one he proudly called Concord Villa. It was Christmas time and we had gone there for holiday. Rain had fallen and left water on the floor. Through a leakage in the roof, the water had caused the growth of tiny smudge of algae on the clay tiles, and I was asked to scrub it out. I got down to doing it, but after a while, I discovered that I could not remove the smudge. When my father returned, I showed him that I had one, but he was not impressed. He said, "What do you mean? If I come back and you haven't done it, I will stop paying your school fees." My father is not given to issuing empty threats, so I knew I had to do it or get into trouble. I'm not sure I knew exactly what gave me the idea, but I found a way out. I found some sand and coconut hooks. I tried so many things, but it was the concrete hooks and sand that scrubbed the smudge off. My cousins joined me, and just before my father returned, he had managed to clean out the smudge. When my father got back, he had forgotten about it, so I reminded him and showed him the spot. He was satisfied and said, "Good," but I reminded him that it was a very difficult task. He looked at me levelly and said, "So what? If I don't threaten you, you wouldn't have found a way to do it." That was a very valuable lesson. Looking back now, I know that he will not have sports paying my school fees, but it was a way for him to challenge me to be the best I could be. That is a principle. To be the best I can be, each film I make must be better than the one I made last. This is my policy. Each job will be the best I can do at that particular time. But that principle also has its own other sides because I don't like competition. I don't like competition because I cannot accept failure of half measure. If I am asked to submit my work for competition, I will not do it because if I come second, I will probably cry. My children have also imbibed the same attitude to life, although I often encourage them to compete, whatever the outcome. Having high achievement rates, I think also limits one because one tends to run away from whatever task one is not sure that one can perform satisfactorily. I even play Ludo game by myself. I do not watch the matches of Manchester United, the football club that I support, because I cannot bear to see them beaten. My exit handover strategy. I have already withdrawn a bit from some of the roles I used to play because we now have some competent people playing some of these roles. There is a principle in the Bible which enjoins us to train and trust Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ did not that too. He trained people and trusted them to do the work. He trained the apostles and sent them to go and preach. They came back and gave him a report. Then he sent another set of 70 people. I have learned that one should multiply oneself. By teaching and training other people, one is actually multiplying oneself. When I train people, my hope is to make them better than I am. After training them, I will withdraw and place my trust in them. For example, the fellow we entrusted with a job we are doing in Enugu has a total budget of 9 million naira, and I am not there to monitor what he is doing, because I trust him to do the right thing. Right thing. It seems dangerous, but it's just money after all. It is not likely that he will do a bad job, because I trained him and must trust him to do the right thing. Whatever mistakes he makes, we can always go back and reshoot or manage it somehow. And when we finish, it will determine a lot of things, other things. So my exit strategy is first to train people, trust and assist them to move along. I have been imparting a whole new generation of people with the skills that I have had, and I have not hidden anything, because, after all, I cannot take these skills with me to the grave. Between 1999 and 2000, I have had a lot of offers to take the company to the stock exchange, but for reasons that I have just mentioned, I have not pandered up to these offers. I want to first share the vision of the company with as many people as possible. My trainees must imbibe the vision first, because the power of a company such as this is the product, the scripts, the films, and the ideas that are produced. If I am removed from the company or have the company diluted with strange ideas, that may throw the company in strange ideas, because if people left don't have the skills, the company's future will be vague. The strength of this company in terms of content, to a large extent, is me. One is saying that this at the risk of sounding pompous, but it is the truth. From 2006, I have trained and recruited people who can manage and stand on their own. I have entrusted them with work to do, to carry on. Of course, they make mistakes, but we always come back, review that what they have done, and give them more responsibilities. I have an army of people who now, if in 4 or 5 years I decide to reduce my stake and play behind the scene, I will not be bothered. But again, the joy I have is that my experience is not just Amaka Igwe Studios. We have a radio station, the TMC, and others. Each of them gives different experiences. When the TV station starts, it is going to be my ultimate joy. It has always been my dream to put material on a TV station that belongs to me and be able to say, this is the content and this is the value. I am running it the way I have always wanted to see a TV station run. I am not going to do this for too long. Sometimes I tease my husband and I say, I want to be a housewife. I am tired of work. Then he will reply and say, no problem. I know you will turn housewife into a successful business. I am still young, perhaps. I started too early, but there are still some more years for me to do what I am doing. Once I honestly think I can exit the company, I will do so without hesitation. When I am gone, I don't care what people remember me for when I am dead. When I am gone, I am gone. Someone asked me what I would like to be written as an epitaph on my gravestone, and I said that will be their decision, not mine. I cannot determine how or what people think about me. I want to do what God wants me to do. Jesus Christ died at 33. From the Igbo perspective, he died a bad death, because when a person dies without a wife and children at such young age, the person is thrown into the devil forest. So traditionally speaking, that is a bad death. But was Jesus Christ successful? As far as I am concerned, he did what his father wanted him to do, and he did it successfully. For me, his death became the salvation of man, and as far as he is concerned, it was what God wanted him to do, and he did it. For me, success is not determined by money, cars, or houses. It is determined by whether I do what God wanted me to do. When God said to Joshua, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth. So you will do what is written therein, and then shall you find good success. He knows good success for him was doing what God's will of God. That is also my own decision, to do what God wants me to do. I will do what he plans for me by his grace. Whether that will make any sense or to anybody in the world, I don't know. But as long as God says to me, though good and faithful servant, I am fine. What I want is that on the day I die, I shall march to heaven triumphantly with happiness and not with tears. That is being successful for me. Whether the world will see it as that is for the world to decide. People can't judge what God wants me to do. Only God knows whether I did what He wants me to do or not. Name: Bookie George. Business: Health Plus. Post: Managing Director. Industry: Health Pharmaceuticals. Family background: childhood and education. Born in Lutz over 4 decades ago. At the time, we lived at Imo Street in the Lawanson area, Lagos State, Nigeria. My first memories are of life in Lawanson, living with my mother and 2 sisters. Ours was a close-knit community. We had great neighbors and everyone helped each other. Many times, the grandma next door and my mother's good friend across the road will help out my mom with babysitting when we had no nanny. The musical ice cream van always parked temptingly and on our street corner is also memorable. As children, my mother sewed us pretty clothes and baked our birthday cakes. My parents were separated, so mother raised us herself. Growing up was taught. We had few luxurious, but my mother ensured we had lots of love and a good education. Our home was full of joy and laughter. We were good with our hands. I learned to sew, knit, crochet, and embroider. I learned to cook and bake at an early age. I was very resourceful. When you cannot have all you want, you learn to be a good problem solver. You learn to be resourceful and innovative. My mother recently told me that one day at age 8, I placed my hand on my hips and said, "Why is there never any money in this house? When I grow up, I'll make a lot of money." I guess this explains my drive. Early schooling was at Osimoye Nursery and Primary School. Later, I attended Baptist Primary School in Surulere and completed my primary education at Municipal Primary School. I was a pioneer student of International School, University of Lagos, where I had a sound secondary school education. In 1987, I enrolled at the School of Pharmacy, College of Medicine, now Faculty of Pharmacy, and University of Lagos to study pharmacy. In 1992, I graduated with 5 awards as the best student of the college. In 1997, I got married to my university sweetheart and friend. He have four wonderful and talented children. Work experience. After I completed my pharmacy degree in 1992, my internship was at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. I still have vivid memories of pediatric inpatients on patient unit at LUTH Pharmacy. I made so many extemporaneous preparations for the neonates, especially the digoxin suspensions for those little darlings. It was a huge responsibility for a young intern, but my senior colleagues trusted me because I was meticulous and dependable. In the evening of my internship year, I got my first experience of retail pharmacy, or community pharmacy as some like to call it. This was in Onyx Pharmacy, GRA, Ikeja. I truly flourished. I tried to practice what he had been taught in school, from ensuring we source quality medicines to appropriate dispensing and counseling. With my funds, I prepared and duplicated articles on diabetes diet, non-drug management of high blood pressure, etc. These were distributed for free to the GRA residents. Many customers became my friends, later to become my customers when I opened my own practice 7 years later in the same community. My national youth service was at Smith Klein Beacom, now GSK. I enjoyed my time in production, quality control, and sales departments. After service, I worked at May and Baker for a little while as a medical representative, and then returned to Smith Klein Beacom, still as a mate rep. The excellent training I received from those organizations helped me to hone my selling, exhibiting and presentation skills. I transformed into a confident young professional. I worked at a total of 4 years with May and Baker and Smith Klein Beacom. While in corporate engagement, I gave my all, adding value on many fronts. Often the best representative for the month, I resigned as an assistant manager in 1999 without burning my bridges. It's small words you see. But of vision and setting up. After 4 years of working as a medical representative, I got restless. I was very aware of the need to find my true passion and fulfill my purpose in life. I therefore prayed to God to guide me regarding the work of my hands. One day, I especially had community pharmacy. While prayed, I also used my intellect to self-appraise. What are my strengths? What am I good at? What do I enjoy? I love pharmacy and enjoy clinical pharmacy. I always wondered why majority of what I learned in school was not observed in reality. Hospital and community pharmacy realities. I wanted to make a difference. I had become a good salesman from being a mate rep. I love organizing. I am enterprising. I have high energy levels and I pay great attention to detail. These are actually some of the key success factors of a retailer. Small wonder it all came together. This was in 1998. I hit the ground running and I have never looked back. Community pharmacy encapsulates my qualification, experience, skills, and natural abilities today. Today, pharmacy has got all of me. My serious skills have since been buried. I am looking for the time to stitch a little something, especially for my children. Okay, maybe my grandchildren. Once I knew community pharmacy was my assignment, I started looking for a good location and the finances. Both happened at the same time, mid-1998. While working at Smith Klein Beacom, a batch of augmentin was going to expire many months later. The quantity was large and at our regular rate of sales, they were sure to expire. My manager made a representation to management for an unprecedented price slash. We got this. The sales team moved. As a team, we got augmenting an expensive antibiotic at regular price into hospitals which had previously used little or no quantities of it. Teaching hospitals, general hospitals, health centers, and private hospitals and clinics. My own territory, Lagos Island, Victoria Island, and Ikoyi, was particularly fertile ground for augmenting, and the discount was well received. We sold all the augmenting long before the expiry date, a win-win situation for the patients, the hospitals, the company, and of course, the medical representatives. I made 750,000 in commissions at the end of the period. A fortune in those days. Around the same time, I stumbled upon a shopping complex in GRA Ikeja. I still remember the flutter in my belly when I saw the row of shops. I call it the knowing in my knower. I paid 3 years rent, installed acoustic shop fitting, but ran out of funds. My husband bailed me out. He invested some money for purchasing the stock, an investment that was yields good returns through the years. That was how we opened our doors for operations on the 2nd of April, 1999. Health Plus was incorporated as a limited liability company in December 1996 and started full operations as a registered pharmacy in April 1999. The company started small in an 18 square meter store located in GRA Ikeja area of Lagos State, Nigeria. From inception, I decided to practice according to the ethics of our profession. I ensured there will always be a pharmacist on duty. This is the legal requirement that is only not always adhered to in Nigeria. In addition, we put a lot of energy into stocking a wide range of healthcare products. We started with 2 or 3 packets of each item, but through a combination of excellent customer service, continuous learning, knowledgeable pharmacists and assistants, innovation of our product and service, offering and scrupulous sourcing of products, therefore assuring quality. We have had good success from the very beginning. We were prudent too, avoiding spending our sales on personal gratification. We lived simply, banked our sales intact every day and plot back the profits. Worthy of mention is the great advice I received from a good friend who worked for a consulting firm at the time. She told me to start my business without articulating our mission, vision, and core values. She gave me a Harvard Business Review article which taught how to craft a company's mission, vision, core values, big hairy goals, and strategy. I have the article till today. Our mission is to help people achieve optimum health and vitality through the provision of integrative pharmacy products and services. And our vision is to be the pharmacy of choice in Nigeria. Health Plus has distinguished itself as the pharmacy of choice through the provision of high-quality healthcare products such as medicines, nutritional supplements, natural remedies, home medical equipment, mobility aids, and pharmacy services by certified and well-informed healthcare professionals in a friendly and hygienic environment. Health Plus' uniqueness is underscored by its offering an integrative approach for total wellness through the use of both orthodox medicines and natural remedies. It has expanded the frontier of pharmacy service in its communities and carved a niche by providing excellent customer and interactive counseling services aimed at educating people on the merit of available options in obtaining holistic healthcare solutions. Health Plus has become a household name in Nigeria. At Health Plus, we took a stand to practice community pharmacy according to world-class standards. In doing this, the company decided to self-regulate itself according to international standards, despite all the challenges of a third world country. Health Plus ensures that medicines and other healthcare products are scrupulously sourced, and all other activities are in line with the ethics and standards of the profession. World-class training materials are sourced in training and developing its associates. Pharmacy services such as blood pressure monitoring, blood glucose testing, cholesterol, 10-year cardiovascular risk assessment, healthy heart checks, asthma inhaler technique screening, medicine use review, smoking cessation service, minor alignment services,